I grew up in North Carolina in a very evangelical family.
I think we always want to hear the background of how you two came together.
I kept asking him to go out on a date, and he wouldn't go out on a date. And so I became first internet stalker. I was like, so where's the hospital you work at? And we had our city careers, and everything was going great. And then 2 years later, the big recession of 2008, and we both lost our jobs within 1 month of each other.
They won the Amazing Race as a couple, which was a $1 million prize.
Someone said, "Hi, we're calling from the Amazing Race. We heard you wanted to run."
Whether you're here live with us or you're listening on our YouTube channel or checking us out from our email newsletter, you know that what I talk a lot about is that if you want people to rally around your big ideas, you need to create a community that is really aligned with your values, and then they will pass that wisdom or that product or all of the above to another, in this case, neighbor. And so what I love about books, as you all know, listening in, is that books encapsulate wisdom, real life stories, hard-earned experience, and allow people to get the inside look on how the author, in this case, writing a nonfiction prescriptive book around business and probably the mindset and both the wins, the losses, the triumphs, and the tragedies that possibly contributed to this amazing body of work. And so we're going to jump into that right now. This book is about creating a business that's not only good, but actually great, something that people will fall in love with the brand because the culture of the brand and the products in themselves are just excellent. Because, you know, marketing is really important, but if you market something that isn't good, it always will just have a very short half-life. Everything that I've talked about around that piece, I think, is so encapsulated in this book because I got to read it early, so which I'm very excited about. And it's also anchored in really real principles of how do you bring a product to market that actually is based on not just values, but science and truth and honesty. And so if you have an idea that you want to bring to life, this is the book for you, coming from two gentlemen who are still doing it. As I said, I have the pleasure of watching them every single time they're on TV selling their products. And every year during the holidays, my family gets at least one Beekman product, and it gets put in the stocking stuffer. And I was just sharing with them that this is my new favorite, because even though we're talking about the book, I have to talk about the product because it's so good. This is called Milkshake. It's a spray, and it just makes you refreshed. And a lot of us are on Zoom nowadays, and so you need that little spray. So I did mine before it. So anyway, I'll be quiet now and, introduce Dr. Brent Rich and Josh Kilmer-Purcell. Welcome to our party here.
Oh, thanks, Jen. Jen, a true neighbor, and hi, all new neighbors. We're happy to be here and tell about our journey and answer any questions you have about your own journey.
Well, I think, Brent, we need to have a whole campaign about
yeah. Can we
Zoom
get
spray?
Yeah. What's that?
We should make it a Zoom spray.
Well, Jen,
Yeah.
I know you won't mind.
Would be a great collab, right?
Yeah,
It'd be a
I
great
know.
collab with Zoom.
I was going to say, I know you won't mind if we just take that little video and you become our next TikTok sensation, right? As you're describing it.
I will not be angry about it. No, see, that's a good neighbor.
Yeah, user generated. That's key right now.
So I'd love for you to both introduce yourselves, both your individual journey. I think we always want to hear the background of how you two came together, and then I'll have more questions after that. But let's do that first.
I grew up in North Carolina in a very evangelical family, and so had never dated a guy before, and moved to New York City to do my medical residency at Columbia, and started chatting in an AOL chat room. Now, this was almost 26 years ago, so it's still dial-up modem. I'd type a sentence and then it'd like, and, another sentence would pop up. And one evening I was chatting in the chat room, and this character right here, his screen name was Green Eyes, and he started chatting with me, and then he became the world's first internet stalker, as he likes to say.
It's true, because he wouldn't. I kept asking him to go out on a date, and he wouldn't go out on a date. And so I became first internet stalker. I was like, where's the hospital you work at? Well, what direction do you walk to work? How long does it take you to get there? And then by the time he was getting ready to disconnect, I said, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, I'm going to be at this subway stop, which I know is near your house, and you're either going to be there or you're not. And he was. And so that's how we met. Got together in 2000, 1999, 2000, became a couple. And we had our city careers. Brent was a physician. He worked for Martha Stewart. He became the head of her health and wellness division. Became a bigwig in advertising, and everything was going great. And in 2006, we found a farm in upstate New York. We were just on a weekend getaway, and we found this farm that we loved in a little town called Sharon Springs. We bought this farm, just going to be a weekend spot. And then 2 years later, the big recession of 2008, and we both lost our jobs within 1 month of each other. And so we had to, really, we were starting over. But right after we bought the house, we got a letter in our mailbox from a neighbor. His name was Farmer John, and he had 80 goats, and he was losing his farm. And he said, I've got no place for my goats. Can I bring my goats to your farm? And so we always say that was the first act of kindness that started our company, and we didn't even have an idea that we were going to have a company. But by taking in a neighbor, 2 years later, when we lost our jobs, we Googled what can we make with goat milk, and that's how we started our company, by making that goat milk soap.
And now
Wow.
60 million bars of soap later, and Farmer John is still here on the farm with us.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh. Well, I'm one of those hoarders of those 60 million bars that
Yeah, all
have
the
been
fragrance.
purchased. I'm not joking. My husband and I fight over who's going to use the honeysuckle because that's kind of my favorite one. Wow. It's amazing how life unfolds. There's like this divine destiny, if you will. It will just unfold if you also allow yourself, even through probably a very stressful moment. I mean, I had the same situation in 2008. I basically lost everything and had to rebuild my own career in life. And so I tell people a lot of times, most people are remarkable. They have remarkable stories. And it's more
Mhm.
about, are you staying open to what we call like what's going to unfold? And Farmer Joan was like that next miracle, if you will, that unfolded. Now, we do have to kind of talk about how cool it is. Was this before or after the Amazing Race? Because I need you guys all to hear. They won the Amazing Race as a couple, which was a $1 million prize. And the Amazing Race is hard. I mean, it's a lot. I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but I know people always want to know, like, how did that happen? Because, and I haven't read the whole book yet. I've gotten my book. I started reading it.
Yep.
You might tell the story in the book. I'd love to hear about that.
The Amazing Race came afterwards. We ran the Amazing Race in 2012. Shortly after we started the company, or just as we were trying to start the company, Josh was, still interviewing for jobs in the city, trying to get, another job because we needed health insurance and we had this $1 million mortgage on the farm. And so he went into the city to have an interview at Discovery Network. And at the time, they were starting a new channel called Planet Green. And they were looking for a CMO, basically. And so we went in for the interview, and the president he was interviewing with said, well, you don't really have the qualifications for this job, but wow, how fascinating it is what's happening in your life. So many other mid-career professionals had lost their jobs during 2008, and here you are starting over on a farm in the middle of nowhere. She said that would make a fantastic docuseries. And she said, I'm going to hook you up with a production company and see if they'll just follow along to kind of capture what's happening in your life. And so she did, and that became the source of a little docuseries called The Fabulous Beekman Boys, which ran for 2 seasons. And it turned out that one of the fans of that show was the president of CBS Reality TV. We had no idea she was a fan of the show, but we had written a cookbook, and we were at the Santa Monica Public Library signing the cookbook. And this little woman walked up, very unassuming. She's probably about 80 years old. She had her oxygen tank with her, just unassuming. And she was just going on about how much she loved the Fabulous Beekman Boys and the soap. And she said, every week my next door neighbor comes over and we watch your show together, and it's our bonding time as neighbors. And we said, oh, well, if she's such a big fan, why aren't we on The Amazing Race? And she said, I'm going to tell her. And again, we thought nothing of it. We thought, why would the CBS executive be watching our show at this woman's house? And we got back to the farm, and 2 days later, we picked up the phone. Someone said, hi, we're calling from The Amazing Race. We heard you wanted to run. And that's how we ultimately got on the race. And when they asked us to be on the race, our initial thought was, we are two middle-aged gay nerd guys. We will never win The Amazing Race. However, we said, if we can just make it halfway through the season, we will have maximized the exposure for the brand, because who's going to tune into a show like that halfway in, right? So
And,
all
and
we had to do
yeah.
was hang on to halfway point.
And our, and our goal in that was not to win, although it was very nice that we did. Our goal was to build our personal brand. And when we first started the race and met the other racers on camera, because you meet them live the first time, we made a real point not to say, "Hi, I'm Josh," or "Hi, I'm Brent." We said, "Hey, we're the Beekman boys," because we wanted to get our brand name on television. So the whole rest of the season, all 11 million people that were watching were called us the Beekman boys.
They are dropping diamonds. I hope you guys are picking them up, right? Like the way that
That's right.
they've decided to just show up and with some intentionality. It doesn't have to be, you got to architect the biggest campaign in the world, but it's just with this intentionality of how you want people to see you, to speak of you, and then being available, like I call it, for the miracle of what's happened. Because I think it's really cool how you said, because you never know who's watching. That's the
Hmm.
other big diamond that I'm getting from this story that you shared, is that you never know who's watching and who will just actually open the door instead of you trying to architect something or become, manufacture something that doesn't feel natural. And I think because we live in a world where it's so, we feel some pressure to do that, that actually you two are living proof. I also loved how you talked about this midlife transformation and how really age is nothing but a number. And I turned 51 this year, and I'm like, I turned level 5. This is my decade of wisdom even transfer. I feel like, in my own professional and personal life. And so I love that you're saying that. And I'm starting to pick up, Josh was not just the first online stalker. He was also, you guys were like original reality TV, but showing a kind side of it, a more
Hmm.
natural side of it, not trying to be exclamatory or like always trying to be drama filled, but more like that you were always on brand in terms of your who you each were, and then together as the Beekman boys. So this is, I hope you guys saw all those diamonds. If not, I tried to do my best summarizing it.
You're such a good listener, Jen. I must say,
Oh,
you really pick up on things.
thank
Um,
you.
we didn't want to do it to begin with, because at that time they were making a lot of shows that made fun of kind of country living. So there was Honey Boo Boo, there was Swamp Kings, Duck Dynasty, and so we were like, oh, we were so dependent on our neighbors in this community, not only to teach us how to survive on this farm, but they were helping us wrap bars of soap at our dining room table. So we did not want to do anything that would alienate our community. So when we talked to the producers in the very first production meeting, we said, listen, you can make fun of us as much as possible, but every single person in our little community of Sharon Springs, which is a population of 500 and some people, so basically everybody was on the show at some point, we said, you have to make them look good. And it just worked so beautifully, because then every person who ever made a slight appearance on the show became stars. And then when we started doing harvest festivals in our little community, which ultimately grew to bring 20,000 people into the village, everybody that they met was a star. It's like they were walking down the street of Mayberry. Like, there's Mayor Doug, and there's Soapmaker Deb, and there's, everybody was a celebrity to the people who came to visit. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Oh my gosh, this is so great. Because again, I think that we live in a world where we think, oh gosh, to create my personal brand, I have to do X, Y, and Z. But actually, what you both are sharing is that, what's the saying? Necessity, invention is, what is it?
Mother,
Necessity
yeah,
is the
that's
mother
the,
invention, right? And so this necessity during the recession, you guys had this $1 million mortgage. Again, that's actually a magical miracle too, because the whole Amazing Race, the purse prize was $1 million. So it's almost like, oh, you solved the mortgage problem if you were to look at it like that. And then also just you pouring back into the community and rallying together and finding ways where everyone could win and be nourished while
Mhm.
everybody's trying to navigate the uncertainty. And I think we're in that world right now at the time of this recording, where similar uncertainty about a lot of different things. And you're really exposing this like desire for community. And so I think all of us can take that lesson. And I'm curious now, moving into the book itself, the book itself, Goat Wisdom, It has 12 principles that you both write about. And, I don't know if we have time to go through all the 12 principles because I want everybody to get their book. And if you're here live, I'm actually sending you the book. So you're good. I'd love for you to kind of highlight what made you guys decide finally to do this book now? Like, what was
Mhm.
that moment? And then maybe touch on the 12 principles. And then we can talk after. Then I want to talk about kind of like, how'd you feel about writing the book after that?
Sure, sure. Well, I'll just comment before we go into the book about something you just said. I think a lot of times when you're thinking about personal brand or writing a book or a personal project, it's very easy to become super focused on yourself, and trying to make yourself the success. But I think what we have learned over the course of our entire company, whether it was the neighbors helping us wrap the bars of soap, or even up to this, this webinar where you asked us to be on here, we always think how's what we're doing helping someone else, and trying to push it outward, because we always know those things come back. So just like Jen helping everyone here think about their strategy for developing their personal brand or writing their book or however she's helping you, it's not only great for you, it's great for Jen too, because all of that love and all the wisdom that you gather as you go out and do your thing is going to come back to Jen as well. And so, I always say, think outwardly to build yourself up, because that's ultimately what will happen. And that's kind of why we decided to write Good Wisdom Now. We've been in business now for 16 years, and there were bits and pieces of our story, all over the place, because as you would expect after, kind of such a long growth period. And so we wanted to accumulate all of the stories about the trials and tribulations of growing a business all in one place, so that, they were collected there. But also when we started writing it about 2 years ago, we were coming out of a period that seemed really polarized. We didn't know it was going to get more polarized, but it was super polarized then as well. And we were also concerned about the fact that in media, particularly social media, you were really only seeing depictions of one type of success. It was like either the hustle culture and that was the success, or you were a tech billionaire and that was success, or you were an influencer and maybe you were not a success, but you were showing yourself as like on a private jet and all these things. So,
And I just want to add to that, to use Jen, your language. There was a lot of sparkles out in the entrepreneur media world, but there wasn't a lot of diamonds. There was a lot
oh,
Yeah, that's
of
good.
like here's the three secrets that you're not doing to make nine figures in half an hour from home. Like these things that was what was supposed to be inspiring people, but we knew them not to be true. We knew they didn't work based on our own experience. So we knew that it was the wisdom that we had from our grandparents, from our parents, from our mentors, like real true wisdom that helped build our business. And the book compiles 12 of the most important maxims to us, and they're age-old maxims. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Make hay while the sun shines. An empty vessel makes the most noise. We've all heard these for so many years that we sort of just don't even know what they mean anymore. But they're really powerful truths that if you know how to apply them to your business or to your life, they are the true secrets to success. So we compile yeah, we compile these maxims, and then we showed the latest research on them and why they're successful, and then gave exercises how you can really apply them to your life and your business.
Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited for everyone to hear this because back to one of the maxims that I live by, to use your word maxim, is excellence in product matters. Because right now, again, it's all about the sparkles of the marketing. And I'm a marketer, so believe me or not, I know Josh has this advertising and marketing background as well, but we have to go back to finding the fun in fundamentals, that the
mm,
fundamentals are sexy, right? Actually, all the new things that are coming out, even with the evolution of what's happening with AI, et cetera, the good news is that people are returning to real, not
mhm.
REEL, but they want REAL. They want relationships. They want to be aligned with brands that they feel, really good about, that they feel proud of recommending. And we forget that when we are wanting so badly to contribute to the world. And I love, Josh, what you said earlier too around, and Brent, you said, if you focus outward, all the gifts are going to come back, and you have to trust that process if you keep
Mhm.
showing up to be delivering something that's high quality and excellent, and that you're not scrimping, if you will, on
Mhm.
that piece of it. And I think when you have a physical product like the Beekman 1802 products, uh, you have to, there are consequences if the product's not good, right? Because people are literally
Yeah.
using this on their skin and whatnot. And so I think we've lost a focus on quality because of fast fashion and fast
Yeah.
beauty and all the things. And I think that that's still so important. It's even more important in the AI revolution because people are going to
Well,
want more of it.
Hmm.
absolutely, because what you're trying to go, like anybody these days can have a very good business and even a very lucrative business for a short amount of time. But if you want to go the next step and have a great or a greatest of all time business, you really have to focus on those fundamentals. And the key fundamental is what is the quality of the product, whether it's a physical product or it's your service. You have to focus on the quality of the product because that is what's going to give you longevity. And if you don't have longevity, you can never reach, not greatness, goatness. You can
Oh,
never
I
reach.
love it. How many of
And,
you want to reach goatness?
and
Everybody, let's all be committed to
reach your
goatness.
goatness.
Yes, yes. I love
And
it.
as Josh was saying, we chose 12 principles that we wanted to start with, and that's the reason the book is called Greatest of All Time Wisdom, because it's all these things that have been tried and true. The reason that these maxims have existed for hundreds of years and have can be found in almost every culture and every language, the same kind of idea is because they are tried and true. And in a world where there are seamless, endless amounts of hacks and quick fixes and things like that, which again can make a very good business. But if you want a great business, you have to get back to the fundamentals. And that's what we're trying to encourage people to do. And at the same time, inspire small business owners who want to create a business on their main street, right? And you can be an amazing success from a small town like us. The only marker of success is not being Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. Like you can still be a great success. And that's the type of business people that we want to inspire because we know that those are the backbone of the economy.
And
Yes.
one of the things we always say when we're talking to entrepreneurs is, there's two ways to shoot for the moon. You can build a rocket or you can build a ladder. 99% of rockets blow up, and 100% of ladders don't actually reach the moon, but at least you're higher off the ground than where you started. And
One
so,
Oh
rung
my
at
gosh,
a
I
time.
love that.
wrong at a
That's
time.
right.
I love that metaphor. And one of the things that I say is the most dangerous part of a rocket is re-entering the atmosphere, actually not even launching, and they
Mhm.
burn up coming back. And that's when, if you want to come back and be with real people and like survive, what it takes to, as entrepreneurs, as people with big ideas, it takes effort. It takes effort, it takes belief, and it takes understanding that the fundamentals actually don't ever change no matter what. And so I know I could talk to you guys all day because are they not amazing? Are we like so happy that they're here and that they wrote this book for us and for the world? I'd love to just for a little bit talk about the book writing journey and then now you're in the book and promoting the book. What are things that you've learned, what you've observed? Just because many of the people who are listening and are on the journey of publishing their first, or they've done it and they want to they want to reach more people. And so I'm just
Mhm.
curious if you can share some of those insights.
Yeah, I think for us, and I think this is in general for anyone writing a book, you have to know from the start who your target audience is and why you want to reach that target audience. For some people, like having a New York, getting the New York Times bestseller is an amazing feat. That's what they want to accomplish. Or if you want to reach a specific group of people that you are, coaching, or you want to be a thought leader, like you just need to know what you want to accomplish with the book, and really focus on that. You can't be all things to all people. And for us in particular, we wanted to, put all of our stories into one place that, the history of the company. We wanted to have the kind of stamp of approval that comes with Harvard Business Review because we wanted that credibility.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, what we wanted the book to do is live on past our time at the company, and also be kind of another feather in the cap for anybody who might acquire us in the future. So, L'Oreal, if you're listening, or Unilever, if you're listening, or Estee
Let's
Lauder, if
go this billion-dollar
you're
acquisition.
right,
I'm calling
right.
in with both of, yes,
That's
it's
right.
already on its way.
You're
It's
manifesting
here.
for us.
Yes.
We wanted to have our entire brand story outlined almost like as a Bible, so that anybody who gets our brand in the future can say, oh, yes, this is the origin story. Here's the ethos. Here's the pathway of how we maintain this brand for the next 100 years. And so we had a very specific target audience that we were trying to go for. And I think we have done a very good job of, doing that. And then anybody else who comes into the story is just bonus, right? It's a new neighbor. And so that's how we approached it. But I think you have to decide what is your goal to begin with, and then really focus on hitting that goal.
Stop dropping these diamonds. I can't handle all this. It's like I'm getting rich. I'm so rich with what you've shared, because that's what I want you all to get. Because we talk a lot about, a lot of times people try to carbon copy, even it's like, why should you write a book? And
Mm-hmm.
you've so clearly outlined what your intentionality was. That's also, I've heard that theme throughout both of you sharing, is this intentionality and trusting the intentionality instead of being worried that it's boxing you in or keeping you from whatever, right? Because we get a lot of, it's a noisy effing world right now. Like, it is just so noisy. It's so easy for us to get distracted. But it's this is purpose. I love this, a book. That's why I love books. I'm obsessed with books,
Us
because
too.
they truly well, books have shaped civilizations. In fact, if you think about the three most read books in the world, they literally are why people are at war right now, and that's how influential work is. And I feel like your book is a great contribution to what I'm calling this modern day philosophers that we need 300 years from now, when AI is like reading all of the wisdom from this century or these 2 centuries. Because a lot of times we look at stoicism and all these other philosophers is great and amazing, but I'm on the hunt for the modern day philosophers who are sharing way past our lifetime, so that our future generations can go, oh, actually some of the principles remained, and then also there's some cool other ideas
Twist
to be
on.
thinking
Yeah.
of. So
No, I
yeah,
think you're
thank you for
right.
writing this.
Yeah, if you look at Buddhism, if you look at Stoicism, there's threads that run through them. They get modernized, and I think you're absolutely right. What are going to be the books for this modern era, and how do we take that thread and weave it in a different way?
And because
Yeah,
I
wow.
know a lot of your community do want to write books, one of the things that we did work with a co-writer on this book, and I think it's important to talk about that process as well, because
Hmm.
I've written plenty of books all by my lonesome, but on this book, because it is so close to our lives. Another thing that I always say is you can't describe the mountain you're standing on. When you're
Oh,
standing on
good.
a mountain, you don't know how tall it is, you don't know what shape it is, you can only see it when you're from a distance. So we built this mountain, Beekman 1802, and it's very hard to describe something you're that close to. So whether it's a co-writer or even someone that will never write a word of your book, they can be a co-author just by helping you clarify what you're trying to say into because you're too close to yourself sometimes to actually
Yeah,
communicate
yeah.
what
A
you're
good writer partner can be therapeutic, and they can
Very
help.
much so.
They can help. Look for weak links in the story that you're trying to tell, something that doesn't make sense. They can be very invaluable, and also for us, because we were doing so much research and on like business psychology to show the latest research that proves that these are tried and truisms. We needed someone who's like looking through all of the data, looking through every issue of Harvard Business Review from like the past 30 years, looking at the research and making sure that we were substantiating everything that we were trying to prove out as our reason for success.
And those are the books that I've been, again, yelling from the rooftops. These are the books we need to read and write, because in a world, again, where fakery and is so easy, AI can write books for you. This, you know, legitimacy, reputation based on real, not just based on manufactured. Those are the leaders that we're looking for. Those are the leaders that we need in the future. These are the leaders that young people need to read wisdom from. And so I'm just so grateful. I don't know if you have any space or time to stay on a couple more minutes to maybe field some questions. Would that be okay? Or are you guys running off to a new thing? Because I want to respect your time.
No, we can be on till 4:45, I think. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I
But can
would
I say
love,
one
first
thing,
of
Jen?
all,
One thing,
yes,
Jen,
yes.
before we go to Q&A. I think it's so important what you said. We live in a world where we are surrounded and bombarded by information. And I think it is so critical that people realize that information is not the same thing as wisdom. And we
Yes.
need, all of us as authors, as thought leaders, we need to focus on the wisdom, because there's far too much other stuff out there.
You just are making my heart is singing. And for those people in the room know me and what I've been preaching, frankly, from my own little ministry of marketing, if you will, of the future. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if we all went this way, then all the bad actors would actually get, we have to balance out the bad actors, the bad information with good wisdom, trusted wisdom. And so you're just speaking to my heart right now, like truly, like I'm actually even thinking, I'm like getting emotional about it because Carissa knows me. I'm like, this is the stuff right here. So anyway, I'm so grateful that both of you are here. Is there anything besides obviously supporting the book that we can support you with as your new neighbors in any way, shape, or form?
I think our company was built on kindness. It is throughout the DNA, whether we're talking about kindness to the skin, kindness to the rest of your mental health, your physical health, kindness in your community. Kindness is really, really, really important to us. And we say mentorship is an act of kindness. And so if you are going to be a thought leader, think about how mentorship shows up in the way that you're planning out your life. Because thought leadership is not just always about the big gig or always about, the big speaking engagement. It's about the little things that you can do to inspire and help other people. So whatever field or discipline you're in, think about how am I going to be a mentor to the next people coming up behind me.
In our few minutes, does anybody have a question they'd love to ask Dr. Brent or Josh?
I'm having goosebumps. The one thing I'm really curious about is this thing about synchronicity that you're talking about. And I'm curious if there's something that happens in your body or something that happens that lets you know that you're on path. And I'm actually getting goosebumps right now asking you this question.
I love this idea of synchronicity. And I think we do go a lot with our gut instinct and feeling. But I think it always comes back to anytime we're entering in any sort of negotiation, whether it's a negotiation with an employee, a supplier, doing a big collaboration, we always go into that. Our very first question is, before we even have the meeting, what am I going to deliver to that person or that group or that organization? How am I going to elevate them? Rather than going into the negotiation thinking, what do I need to get out of it? And I think when you start in that conversation, you'll know immediately, oh, I am going to be able to help them do this or do that. It's just like Jen, when Jen said, oh, she was just doing this because she wanted free Beekman product, I'm sure. But no. But no, she reached out to us saying, "Hey, I can help them with the launch of their book." And I think you just know when you know, and especially when you go into it and going into it, I can really be important to this person. That's a powerful thing.
And I would just add, I feel, Brent, that you and we are open to every possibility that's coming at us. And we're not looking for the right one because we're just accepting of everything, but we have a very good reaction to what is wrong. So rather than choosing the right match all the time, we don't choose the wrong one, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I love
good.
that. Thank you both.
Thank you, Gail. That was a great question.
I absolutely love this. And to echo Gail and Jen, like this is all about, like, this community is all about everything that you're saying. And I just loved how you guys built this amazing business during economic downturn. And you hear about how many millionaires or just, people skyrocket with the opportunity in times like this when people are scared. You guys leaned in And so I want to know, like, how did you stay authentic to your sales and your customer voice while all the noise was happening when you were building your business?
Oh, this is a great question. And I think one of the things that helped us was that when we started the company, we were just trying to survive. And I think a lot of times people these days, particularly we call it the Shark Tank era of, entrepreneurship, people start thinking about how they're going to sell their company before they even have a company. And I think it gives you a completely erroneous mindset to think that way. So I think that was one of the first things that we did. And then we were always just very, very transparent with the whole process. The warts, the trials, the tribulations, it was always on social media, even when the only platform was Facebook, that we were on Facebook and engaging, and people were seeing like this is how life is. And so I think just being transparent, and I think, over the maybe past 5 or 6 years, social media has started to distort people's view of reality. And I think to what Jim was saying, now we're entering into an era where not just authenticity, because now authenticity is kind of faux authenticity, I think. I think vulnerability is going to be the key thing. And just really showing what you're going through, knowing that, everybody else is going through this too. I think that's just going to be so critical.
Thank you for holding this, Jen, and thank you so much for honestly the authors coming and speaking to us. I'm always so nosy about what was not included in the book, and I know you're talking about maxims. Which ones could you have included? I'm so curious.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so funny that you say that. I don't know if I can remember the ones that got edited out, because we made a list of about 100 different maxims that we thought were part of our journey.
Wow.
And Harvard was like, oh no, it needs to be like a 13-chapter book. You can't like 100 chapters to the book. So that's a good question. I don't know which one we edited.
That'd be a good daily calendar. Not just, I'm not trying to make you create a product, but like, it'd be kind of cool to be like, here are the other ones, or the bonus. I can't help but say, because I want to know now too, Joanne. I'm so glad you asked this question.
Okay, Joanne.
I'm too curious.
Because if we could do a daily Goat Wisdom daily calendar where there's a different proverb every day, say, here's how this proverb is going to solve today's problems if you just think about it in the right way.
Oh my God. Please, if you guys have space and capacity, we are already telling you, your neighbors are telling you we'd buy it. Am I right? Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so great. Well, again, I'm just thrilled that both of you made time. I'm so happy that our community showed up and asked great questions, and I'm excited to share this with our greater community of 400,000 friends who listen in on the newsletter every week. And again, I can't speak more highly about this product. The Beekman 1802 products, authentically, like I use these products every day. I use the serum. People will tell me like, you're 51. I'm like, hey, I use Beekman. And I'm Filipino too, so Asian don't raisin. So that's part of it. But genes help, right? But in all seriousness, I truly use this product. And that's why when this book was coming out, I'm like, oh my gosh, when you find a great product and that the actual inventors take the time to share how it came to be, those are the books that I want to read. And those are the books that I want to understand and learn from. And so thank you for being our mentor through your book, because your book is a way for you to clone your mentorship in a lot of ways. And so thank you. Are there any last things you'd like to share with us before we complete today?
I would say gratitude for all of you as well. Every time we sit down and we talk about our journey, we learn something new about ourselves. So, we love that. We appreciate all of you. And thank you for spending part of your time with us, because time is our most valuable asset. So we don't take it lightly that you showed up today.
And I would say thank you for being kind to us. Thank you for being kind to each other. And thank you for going forth and being kind to everybody around you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on this amazing book. And we can't wait to hear from you even more. Bye, everyone.
Bye, neighbors.